It is Quest. Hello.
Hello, it's the
I
Adventure Game Podcast.
that hello. I saw you winding up for the Adventure Game Podcast, and my hello just completely demolished
No,
what you had.
I should have known. I was actually thinking as we went into that, what's Ben going to do to throw me a curveball?
Not
And
intentional.
yeah, no, but I mean, here we are. It's Quest, the Adventure Game Podcast. Welcome in, everybody.
Oh,
Oh,
sorry.
wow.
The studio audience is still here.
Oh, wow. They didn't leave? Had they been here like for the whole week? That evil wizard isn't here, is he?
Let's see. Evil Wizard, are you there? Oh, they got
Oh,
him out.
man. They
They
bum
kicked
rushed the
him
guy
out.
out of there,
Yeah,
huh?
they removed him. Because honestly, it was actually a little like hold on. Let me all right, one more time. And Boo Birds, please be quiet. Evil Wizard, are you there? Oh, all right. Well, I think the crickets might have to stay in the sound bank with the Beverly Hillbillies theme, Name Iceman theme, and some other solids. Just
There's what you could think of as essential audio in any podcast. And, some things you just need there at the touch of a button.
um. Jess, how you doing today? How was your break? How was your escape from the inside of a whale's mouth with human teeth?
Well, hearing you tell everybody about that, I feel like you misrepresented what I was doing. You made it sound like it was some sort of like King's Quest 4, just like joke 'em up thing, like I'm crawling up the tongue, etc. You know as well as I do, I was there for one purpose and one purpose only. That was to collect precious ambergris so we could launch our new scent, Quest, the Scent of Adventure. And that will be available at all fine cologne and perfume retailers later this year. And
Parfumeries.
yeah, all the parfumeries are going to have it. If you have a favorite parfumery, just go in and ask for Quest, the Scent of Adventure. And you may ask yourself, did I harvest this ambergris humanely? No,
Oh, okay.
because it actually smells different if you do. You want it like
You got to have the ethics. Like it's like veal. There's no ethical way.
no, there's no ethical consumption of ambergris under capitalism, but there is ethical consumption of Quest, the Scent of Adventure, coming to a parfumery near you later this year.
Is it ambergris or is it ambergris?
I say ambergris.
Because I think of Gree from uh uh Gabriel Knight
Yes.
1.
Yes, that's
Gree.
right. I mean, I don't know which came first, Gabriel Knight 1 or Wells, but
Well, I mean,
maybe Google. Okay, yeah, let's get a pronunciation for not the
well,
first time
Gree
today.
Gree is not from Gabriel Knight 1. It is
Are you kidding? What?
yeah, believe it or not, it is it's a phrase that originates from West Africa, and I'm just pulling this from the top of my head. It's a voodoo amulet originating in West Africa, which is believed to protect the wearer from evil or bring luck. Citation 2. And in some West African countries, it's used as a purported method of birth control.
That
I
checks
just
out.
said that like right off the top of my head.
Well, here's what I have for you, Ben. It turns out, if we're to believe Google's pronunciation results, we are both correct. Apparently, in British pronunciation, it's closer to ambergris. Let's see. Yeah, it's grease, like a grease, actually. So neither,
Oh,
or
ambergris is the
yeah.
word.
And then, yes, it is the word. And American, it is ambergris. So I don't know. Probably the answer is neither of those. Do I trust like the AI results that pop up at the top of Google? No. But
I
the
just
important thing is I
watched.
harpooned that well and I took all that good ambergris right out of it. I
Yeah.
don't actually know what to do with it next. This is the problem. Like I put the cart before the horse. Now I just have like this bucket of ambergris. And I know we've talked to some perfume distributors, but I mean, I don't know if I drop that off at their headquarters, if they send like a pickup guy. I don't know. But
Y-
stay tuned, listeners. Quest, the Sin of Adventure, coming later this year.
It's like the ivory dealer in the Simpsons episode who has an ivory pen.
Yes, that's right. I just
Lisa,
put it on toast this morning and it
yeah.
was awful. It was terrible.
his desire for ivory, he has so much ivory that he wouldn't want more. Something
That's
like that.
exactly
I
right.
got it right. It's somebody whose ivory stores are quite low. I
Yeah.
just watched the Village People movie, Can't Stop the Music, a
Okay.
couple
Tell
days
me
ago.
about that.
This is one of the first Razzies. It's starring Steve Gutenberg and considerably well before transition Caitlyn Jenner in her first role and only role in a film until this movie came out in 1980. The next movie that Caitlyn Jenner was in was 2011's Jack and Jill.
Oh wow.
So
Um,
took a break.
yeah, there you go.
But it has all the Village People, and I gotta tell you, I loved it. I loved this movie.
Oh yeah?
Made me. It was because audiences, especially like those dopes at the Razzies, they didn't get that it's like intentionally campy.
Yes.
Like, essentially, the joke of it is that you have the Village People who are unbelievably gay, and all of the women, like all of these
Wait a
women,
second.
yeah. All the I know that one guy in the Village People has been saying wasn't gay at all.
Yeah.
But like this uh like women just being like ooh ah ooh, and it's just very very funny. There is a YMCA. I'm sure this has to be on YouTube or something. Please look this up. This YMCA musical number in it, which is just like a bunch of men in speedos, like coordinating, jumping into a pool and like hanging out in a locker room and, and stuff like that.
Isn't it kind of
I was just
amazing? Like,
screaming. I was just screaming the whole
yeah.
time. I had a lovely time.
Isn't it great this period in American culture before mainstream audiences discovered the existence of camp? And all of this stuff was mystifying and strange. It's like, why is this movie being made? I don't understand what this is all about.
I don't understand what this is like. What's the like? I don't under like. There's also a lot of talk about how the Village People are going to be the voice of the 80s, which this I guess this came out like just at the end of like the collapse of disco is like right here. And yeah, anyway,
We
I
also
recommend it.
watched a
I gave it
movie.
4 stars.
I just finished watching a movie, maybe not dissimilar completely from this.
The live
I just
action Lilo and Stitch.
I watched the live action Lilo and Stitch, and let me tell you, it's no, I haven't seen that yet, but I will. I just finished watching the new Pee Wee as himself
Oh, I
documentary.
gotta watch that. I
Oh
gotta watch
man,
that.
Ben,
That's
it is
gonna turn
very
on the
good.
waterworks. I know. Like I watched the trailer for that, and I was getting
Yeah,
a little teary just watching the trailer.
it's a
So
fascinating look into Paul Rubens, and two, you can sort of see even like toward the end of his life, he is still very much a creative force who, at some level, wants control of his own documentary that's being made about him. He still, I mean, has that sort of wicked wit,
yeah,
and you can also see bits of like the control freak that he was notoriously throughout his career creeping in. He's kind of a prickly guy, that sort of dangerous energy that Pee Wee Herman brought to the table occasionally. Paul Rubens has some of that. It is charming. It's wonderful. Just a terrific and heartbreaking
yeah.
documentary.
Pee Wee is such like you know he's a big part of like the Pee Wee character is that if things aren't exactly the way he wants, he has
Yes.
an enormous tantrum.
Yeah.
That's what's great about Pee Wee Herman is that he's not like he is like beyond that. It's like this man child, which is just itself like kind of irritating by creation.
Hmm.
But it's like he's also kind of a shitty kid.
Yeah. Yeah. Like
Like he's
when
kind of
he's not getting
annoying.
his way, yeah, and that mask sort of drops and you get like kind of nasty Pee Wee. It's
Yeah,
amazing. It's such a
I
layered
like it when
character.
Pee Wee is a little asshole. Pee Wee's Big
Yeah.
Adventure. I am not. If you watched my stream last night, I was making fun of Tim Burton. I'm not really a Tim Burton guy, but Pee Wee's Big Adventure, I think, is just a spectacular movie. It
Oh
cracks
yeah.
me up every single time I see it.
I would say I'm the same boat. Like there are a decent handful of Tim Burton movies I enjoy,
Mhm.
but I wouldn't say I'm like
It's not one of your guys.
what's that? Not one of my guys. Yeah,
Yeah.
I wouldn't go see a movie just because of Tim Burton, despite loving a handful of his films.
People
Like
liked Beetlejuice. I didn't see
it
Beetlejuice.
wasn't bad. I mean,
That's
as
what I
legacy
heard. Everyone was
sequels
like,
go,
"Oh, it's fine."
yeah, I mean, most legacy sequels don't need to exist. This is probably something we should talk about in an episode about adventure games sometime.
You
But
just want you just
well,
want to
I'm just saying
bag on Return to Monkey Island.
there are lots of legacy adventures. There's like Beside a Still Sky or whatever that one's called.
Well,
And,
yeah, but I haven't even played either of those.
well, and that says a lot about them, doesn't it?
Not
One of
really,
us would
because I
have,
didn't
one of
play
us
the
would have,
first one.
one of us would have played one of the two games if they were that good, surely by now. But no, I mean, for a legacy sequel, Beetlejuice was pretty entertaining. Didn't need to be made. Didn't ruin what happened with the first one, which is kind of best case scenario.
Yeah. But yeah, the I gotta watch. That is definitely on my list of things to watch.
I
do
think you'll
love.
dig it.
Oh yeah.
It is really good stuff. Highly recommend it. That's your Quest documentary recommendation this week.
All right. Well, while we're doing our documentary request, I think it's time for us to get a little literary ourselves, because you and I, we're men of letters.
Yes.
And speaking of letters, we have a couple emails. Email the first. So this comes from Jaap in the Netherlands. And Jaap, I'm gonna cut it down a little bit for this. But anyway, I shall begin. Dear Ben and Jess, that's right, me first.
Alphabetical.
Thanks for making my favorite podcast I listen to every week religiously. Maybe we will read this whole email.
This sounds good. Keep going. Or just read that sentence over and over again.
Good so far. Naturally, as a big point-and-click adventure game lover, your main topics are always a delight. I also enjoy most of your totally irrelevant banter. Good. I doubt. Do you think? Here's a question for you, Jaap. Was Pee Wee Herman, is he an at all known quantity in the Netherlands? I assume not, right?
I'm going to assume yes.
Yeah. Whoa. Split decision.
All I've been thinking about lately is Pee Wee Herman, but that's probably because I watched both parts of his documentary in back-to-back nights. So I just assume everyone's thinking about Pee Wee Herman all the time. How's there not a capstone game about Pee Wee Herman? Continue.
He's recently started he's talking about how he has a collection of game magazines. He has PC Gamer, US and UK. Now, Jess, you study game magazines, but you do not do you have a collection of them yourself?
I have a little handful that aren't really a collection, but more
Right.
so just stuff that's stuck around through the years. I do all my stuff digitally. I feel like it's too deep of a rabbit hole for me. I know I won't be able to quit the first time I buy a collectible gaming magazine. It's game over for me.
But he says PC Gamer, US and UK, Game Players, PC Entertainment, Computer Gaming World, PC Zone, and many more, including Dutch magazines, as I am from the Netherlands.
That sounds amazing.
By reading old CGW, I discovered Countdown by Access in 1990, shortly released after Tex Murphy's Mean Streets, now mostly forgotten. Interestingly, it was lauded as, quote, as close to perfect as any game can be. Oh, did I put this on the... Oh, I didn't put that. There we go. That's funny, right? Like when we looked at the review for Codename Iceman, and they're like, this is great.
Yeah.
Didn't Blue Force get a really good review, or a surprisingly
I think it
positive
was a better review than you would expect. Yeah, for a game that is, I mean, it's a Wallsian triumph, Blue Force, but is it a great game? No.
And then what was it? Wayne's World, or didn't one of those capstone games get a pretty good write-up? CGW2.
Yeah, like an 8 or something out of 10, or yeah, like just like
not
this is a great game.
Yeah.
If you love the Beverly Hillbillies, you'll love this game.
Well,
it's like, no, you won't.
Computer Gaming World only did 5 stars. I got you.
They gave it 80% of 5 stars, which is 4 stars.
It is not parentheses. It is not, by the way, very unfair, illogical puzzles by today's standard. Are there any hidden gems that people have forgotten? We'll have to think on this. Maybe this will be like in the middle of the episode. It will come up.
Yeah, and I would love to hear from other listeners. Like if there are hidden gems, games that are way off the beaten path that you think are good ones. One that springs to mind that, I mean, is only semi-hidden. Like, I thought Flight of the Amazon Queen was a pretty good game overall. I thought it was pretty charming, well-made. It's not a big LucasArts Sierra release. I think nowadays it has some prominence in some of the online stores that maybe make it a little more familiar today among adventure game fans than it might have been in the 1990s when it came out. But that's one that I would say is a nice little gem, especially if you love LucasArts games. It's passable as like a lost LucasArts game if you've never played it.
One thing I would say is I would always suggest what's in, like, because I think all of the quote unquote like kind of hidden gems are kind of like, it's like, what do is it a game not made by LucasArts and Sierra, because all of those, like, and I guess other than like Broken Sword and a couple of like Myst, most of those others, kind of exist in that category. What I would say to explore a little bit, and this is fun, is early AGS. Get your DOS box out.
Yeah.
ScumVM doesn't support them at this moment. Maybe some builds do. I forget. But like some of those early AGS games from like 2000, like before it was like really, before people were seriously considering it as like an engine to make commercial games. And it's like a bunch of people making low-budget, little nostalgia things, which people still do. There's still a scene for that. But like, there's just some interesting kind of rough around the edges stuff. Obviously, the most well-known games from that are, like, at least arguably the most well-known ones are the Yahtzee AGS games. Was it like 12 days or something? I'm thinking of 12 days or something. Like the 7 days or something. They all have day names. Those are all pretty fun, and they're like, last time I played them, which was a little while ago, but those are still pretty good. I don't know if they would still be hidden gems per se. Did you ever play those old AGSs? That was outside of your period, right?
I don't think I jumped into AGS maybe until like 2012 when some of the Space Quest AGS games started coming out, like Valhalla Strikes Back and Incinerations.
Right.
I think those may have been the first AGS games I played. I was kind of away from adventure gaming during that early heyday. I also can't help but think, and I think this is a blind spot for both of us, there's probably some really remarkable games seen out there in the world of interactive fiction that I wouldn't even be aware of their existence. I have to figure there's probably been some pretty neat stuff. Oh, even pre-Twine, but certainly in a post-Twine era that, just again, but I'm not the person to talk about those. I mean, I'd love to hear people who know some of those and could recommend them.
I have a tertiary, like amateur IF is something that every couple of years I do a ton of research on, and then I play it a little bit, and I'm like, oh, I'm just not the type of player. Yeah. But there is, like, I have played a lot of it, like, I think, but unfortunately my knowledge is like, kind of the light level of it, where it's like, if you know anything about IF, you'd be like, wow, Ben read a Wikipedia page,
Yes. That's my level of knowledge about most subjects,
Yeah, I would be like, Jess, have you heard of Photopia? And anybody who's played IF is just like, what, the most recommended amateur? Like, at this point, it's a cliche. We're all tired of talking about Photopia. It's like, it's not even that interesting to us anymore. I mean, But I mean, I love of IF. I love Galatea by Emily Short. Pretty much all of her Emily Short's stuff in IF is all super fascinating. Look her up. Anyway, the email goes on. Another interesting topic is copyright protection. This might be a full episode.
Yeah.
Yup lists off a bunch of. I want to put a pin in this.
Okay.
I want to put a pin in this because I think that might be an episode.
You just got quested.
Yeah, you just got quested. We're tabling this. We're gonna talk about. But if we'll come back to this paragraph at the end of this email and talk about that. But if you have any interesting or irritating copy protection memories, shoot us an email at questquestpodcast@gmail.com. I have one more email. It's from this guy. I don't know if you've ever heard of him. His name is Andy, Jess.
Okay. I know Andy.
Hi there. It's Andy, Jess's childhood friend and former neighbor. In the King's Quest 3 episode, Jess mentioned that we recorded a home movie reenactment of KQ3 on my, quote, rinky-dink camera. That camera was a Fisher-Price PXL 2000. He provided a link. PXL 2000 or Pixel Vision, introduced in 1987. Anyway, which recorded pixelated black and white video to audio tapes. A 90-minute audio tape provided 10 minutes of video. That's fascinating.
Yeah.
I have absolutely no recollection of these recordings at all. However, I do remember recording Jess, quote, dancing, end quote, for a homemade music video set to Beastie Boys' Brass Monkey. I'd pretty much forgotten about that camera, but when was packing up for a move last year, what did I find in the attic?
Uh-oh.
The PXL 2000 and a stack of tapes.
Oh, no.
Now, I don't know how well nearly 40-year-old tapes held up to the brutal Texas heat for almost 2 decades. If I can get the 1987 technology to work again, you better pray that the tapes have disintegrated.
Oh, no. You see, I don't know what I would rather have out there in the world, like me dancing to Brass Monkey or this KQ3 film that I remember. And that's why I said, oh, no, at the beginning of this email is I know this is a disputed memory where I seem to recall it very vividly and Andy does not. So it is possible that this KQ3 attempt at a fan film maybe only exists in my imagination. But
your beautiful, wonderful dream that you had.
Yes, I do have a beautiful mind. A lot of people have said that. And, I do think that there's a chance that could be the case, but I think it's real. And that Beastie Boys one, I did not remember, but sadly, that sounds like upsettingly real. That absolutely sounds like something that would and does exist. And I don't know how I feel about it.
Let me type into YouTube. I'm curious if
Jess dancing to Brass Monkey.
PXL 2000. I'm just going to type that into YouTube because I'm curious what
someone out there has it and is using it to do cool things today.
Yeah,
he knows,
like glitchy.
Yeah. Oh God, now I'm looking at it and I remember it so vividly. I'd forgotten about its existence. And I will say, for a Fisher-Price camera, that has some very adult aesthetics. It almost looks like a laser tag gun.
I wanted,
or a disruptor blaster.
One of the things I so desperately wanted as a kid was a camera.
Me too.
So desperately wanted to make a little movie.
This is something about, let me talk about this Paul Rubens, Pee Wee Herman documentary.
Sure.
Like every documentary ever, there is so much footage of this person from the time he is a child, going back to the 1950s and 60s. I don't understand this. Andy was the only person I ever knew who owned a camera. And even that, I mean, I don't want to say rinky dink, but even that was not a full on camcorder sort of situation. How does everyone else have copious amounts of video evidence of their childhood and entire lives when my first video of me in existence is shot on an iPhone 4?
Now, I'm sure the documentary goes into some amount of this, but I'm going to assume that Like many people who are famous, and this isn't to put down Paul Rubens, but he probably came from, kind of a comfortable upbringing.
This did come up in the documentary, yes. So I guess you're just saying I was poor.
I wasn't saying you were poor. I was saying he was rich.
Okay, compared to me, yeah, okay, I got it. Now we've cleared that up. But no, thank you, Andy, for writing in with that, and thank you for honestly a mental image that will probably haunt me as I try to go to sleep for the next several days, wondering if this video will somehow get out there. I'm going to tell you, Ben, I wasn't a great dancer. I am now, but back then,
Yeah.
no.
Well, we could chart the progress.
That's right.
Like
I will make a new one if that does come out. I will make a new one of me dancing better
Right.
now.
Now, well, that's all fascinating, but there's only one thing that fascinates me,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what have you been playing?
Wow, what have I been playing, Ben? You always have such odd answers to this, like games I've never heard of.
Weird one for you this week too. So
Okay, good. I like it. I have one that maybe is a little bit off the rails here, but I've the last couple of days been playing Electric Crayon, Super Mario Brothers and Friends When I Grow Up from 1992. Do you know this game at all?
No.
Electric Crayon, Super Mario Brothers and Friends When I Grow Up. It is a virtual coloring book program that came out for DOS in 1992.
Oh yeah, I've seen this.
Yeah, so basically
is this on archive.org?
Yeah, it's a bunch of blank coloring pages where you color scenes of Mario and all of his friends performing various professions they'd like to do. You know, like how everybody was into adult coloring books there for a minute, like 5 or 6 years ago? Mm-hmm. It's kind of like that, only these are incredibly simple images that even a baby could color in. And I've just been kind of finding it soothing and calming lately. And what's really great about it is that a lot of these scenes are just so bizarre. Like, there's one of Mario where he's a chef and Princess Peach is a waitress and she is taking Link's order from Zelda is there. And he's sitting at the table and Mario's just making some pasta. There's another where Princess Peach is a judge in a courtroom and Mario is arguing a case in a little suit and Bowser is on the witness stand. There's one where Mario's a carpenter and everything around him, it's just like all ramshackle things he's assembled out of bent nails. And it turns out Mario's a really shitty carpenter. And he was a carpenter professionally back during Donkey Kong, right? Before he was a plumber, he was a carpenter.
Well, that was Jumpman.
That was Jumpman, that's true. There's one where like Bowser is an executive and he's wearing like a little tie and he's like chewing out.
Do you think he
Mario
was on the
and
stand for white collar crimes?
Probably so. Probably
think he was being tried. All right, so here's my challenge to you, Jess, is can you assemble all, I'm looking here. So this is on archive.org. You can play it there on the website. It says it has 29 pictures.
Yes.
So I believe that there's that game on like iOS, like mobile game where it's like, you get the disparate, like it's a puzzle game and you get these pictures and you assemble them and it creates a whole narrative. So this is my question to you. Can you take all 29 of those images and with the assistance of, some narrative, like you write a little bit, do you think that you could create a coherent narrative out of the 29 images in Electric Crayon 3.1 - Super Mario Bros. Ampersand Friends - When I Grow Up?
Ooh, this would be like the most interesting visual novel ever made. This now feels like a project. You know who I need to bring in on this, who I think would have the juice to make this happen?
Who has the juice to make it happen?
I think we need Grayson on this. We need to bring in our buddy Grayson, of Codename Iceman fan, of Kid Named Iceboy fan.
My Wikipedia guy, you mean?
Your Wikipedia guy. We get your Wikipedia guy in here.
Yeah.
And ooh man, now this is the best idea I've ever heard, Ben. This is kind of, as soon as we go to market with Quest: The Sin of Adventure, this will be our next enterprise.
Sounds great.
Yeah, so that's what I've been playing. I don't know why I've been playing it. I just kind of felt like, who doesn't want color occasionally? It has 256 colors to choose from, only like 200 in which are duplicates.
Let's see. Okay, pictures could be colored from a palette of 16, and a mix button would mix the current color with the 15 other colors and give a total of 256. So you do have 256, but like a selection. I see. Okay.
It's a good game. I mean,
several pictures have animation sequences.
They do. Yeah, like you can see like Mario tossing his pasta up in the air and it like lands on Link's head. It's really funny. Can you imagine how mad Link would be? He has a sword. He could just, cut down Mario right there.
Well, he can use the, he could use his shield, kind of above his head to capture the spaghetti.
Yeah, why didn't he do that? Why didn't he use his Hyrulean shield?
Yeah.
Well, I guess these are questions that will be answered in the game.
Yeah.
When we make our visual novel. All right, well, Ben, that's what I've been playing. What have you been playing?
Yes, I've been playing with UE VR.
Now what?
The UE, that stands for Unreal Engine, and VR stands for Virtual Reality.
Okay.
So
it's Unreal and reality together?
Yeah. But what it is it's this tool that messes with, I think it's Unreal Engine 5 games, but I could be wrong. I just started messing around with this. I have a VR headset, and it takes 2D games made in the Unreal Engine, or at least specific ones, like it has a compatibility list, and then makes them VR.
Okay.
And
will this work for like old Unreal Engine things?
I don't think so. I think it only works because the thing is,
so I can't play like Unreal Tournament in this thing.
No, I think the thing is that it takes the again, I could be talking out of my ass here, but I believe what it is that the most recent version of the Unreal Engine has support for VR. So what it does is it just like kind of messes around with its settings and then turns that on. Essentially what that does, so it doesn't make it like a VR game. What it does is puts the camera in a VR mode and then doubles it up. Because when you have a headset on, it's making the image twice.
So you at least get the look around effect.
Yeah. And so it's like you're still playing with your gamepad or your keyboard or whatever. And so I was messing around with it yesterday with Pinball FX, which is it has it's by Zen, and like it has recreations of pinball machines as well as originals, which are largely bad. And so I was doing it, and unfortunately, like this is one of those things where Jess, the problem with all this stuff, and this program is as easy as can be. You download it, you open up the thing. For the longest time, my computer thought it was a virus, but this time, for whatever reason, it didn't. You make sure that the Trojans get deep in the kernel, and like some guys, are recording everything that I do, but I can mess around with this program for a little bit. Anyway, you just start a program and you push a button in the thing, and then it makes it VR. But the thing is that I'm gonna have to finagle with it more, because playing Pinball FX, it's a game that requires a ton. Like I feel every fan in my desktop fire off when I play that game generally. And I don't know if that is because of the physics of it, or if it's not like particularly elegantly made or whatever. Like I don't know what the situation is, but it already like is a game that for some reason makes my computer like, sound like a fucking helicopter. And then now I'm doing it where it's creating the image twice and making it so I can turn my head around, which is great. Like pinball in VR is actually really cool.
So you're looking at the table and like around. Yeah. So you aren't like first person ball experience.
No, that would be
like Chevy Chase said, you don't get to be the ball.
No.
Famously in Caddyshack.
But never seen Caddyshack. Maybe one day I will.
You've never even
for
watched a
another
Chevy
podcast.
Chase movie, right?
Not once, actually. But it is actually cool because like one of the problems with like playing a pinball game is that it never feels like you get the right angle of view. It always feels like something's obscured. So that's why you can move your head around. But the challenge, so I finagled and I finagled and I finagled and I was able to get it run smoothly and everything looks good. But there is like a quarter second or less of latency on it, which is just death for pinball.
Yeah, that's not going to work at all, I imagine.
It's just death for pinball. And so I'm just like, ugh.
That's got to be a bad gameplay feel.
Yeah. And so now, I'm like, well, do I continue to fuck around with this? Because it's possible, like I bet, because I've just been turning down all of the settings. I turned off the ray tracing. I turned off like everything. I put the resolution way lower, blah, 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 blah. And there's still just a little bit of latency. And I'm kind of like, now I'm at the point of it's like, do I keep fucking with this? Or do I just say like, all right, well, that was fun. And then pay for the VR pinball game that Zen made that does all of it instead. Versus this program that I got for free that is making me do a lot of work for essentially the same. And,
Now, have you considered just dropping a whole bunch of money on an even better VR headset? Like,
well,
maybe
it's not the headset. It's because the headset is pointless in this. It's streaming from my PC.
Gotcha.
So we have multiple points of failure here because it could be my PC, it could be my network. The thing is that I paid a lot more to upgrade my network to 6E so I could get a much higher, like that I get pretty good latency or whatever. Like everything is pretty good streaming because when I'm playing games on my PC to my headset, it's already streaming from my PC to the headset. So that's one latency point of failure. And there's another latency point of failure, which is like the bottleneck of my desktop, which I'm not happy with my desktop recently.
Does it get a lot of latency like when you stream awesome retro games through Xbox Game Pass? Like, does it?
I don't have Game Pass. I haven't had that for a while. But like the problem with my desktop is that it's remarkably poorly cooled.
Yes, my old one was as well.
It is always pretty much at the maximum temperature.
Oh,
it is like that's an exaggeration, but barely. And this is something I've done some amount of work to fix, and I'm just like, it's either whatever. Anyway, I'm sure
this is tough. My old computer, like you could hear the fan revving up from all the way on the other side of the house if I was like playing a 3D game or something like that. And I just thought maybe that's how new like high-end computers are. And then I replaced it with this one like, a year ago or 6 months ago or whatever. And I've never heard the fans once. And it's like magic.
Well, that is probably, and this was originally, that is probably water cooled, I assume. Right?
It is.
Yeah.
It is water cooled.
And this was water cooled. And then the water cooler like broke and the manufacturer didn't make it for that mother. Like, it was just like, and so then I had to replace it with like just a shitload of fans, like physical fans. And now it's just so loud.
I'm just imagining like a bunch of like oscillating fans surrounding your computer, just like from every angle, just like oscillating around it, in addition to whatever internal fans you added.
It's one of those things where it's like the parts of it are pretty decent, but like the
Hmm.
construction of it is terrible. Like, like,
It was a
it
pre-built, right?
yeah, this was a
Yeah.
pre-build. And it has like the engineering quality of a Cybertruck. And the aesthetic, like it's not steel, but it has like that shitty gamer aesthetic. Like it's like flashing lights and shit.
Oh yeah,
Stupid.
yeah, yeah. Mine is glowing at me right now.
Yeah, mine
I
is
wish I could
glowing
pay
at
like,
me.
yeah, slightly more not to have that.
This looks like a garbage can with like Cylon lights. Is what it looks like. And like I would pay an extra $200 for like a gaming computer that I don't know, looks like a Gateway 2000 from
In a
1996.
beige case, yeah, maybe with like a fake turbo button on it.
Yeah, push the turbo button and it just goes like yippee. Or it plays the old Yahoo tune like Yahoo. Anyway,
Yahoo!
all right, we've put it off long enough. The first half of the show is increasingly becoming longer.
Yeah, the first
Uh,
half of the show is increasingly becoming the first 2/3 of the show. And, if people would quit sending us emails at questquestpodcast@gmail.com
don't discuss.
telling us that
Yeah,
telling us that they enjoy our banter, we're getting too much positive reinforcement on the banter, Ben. Like, we're hearing this too much that people are like, oh, I guess Yop was sort of like, somehow I even like the banter, which maybe isn't exactly a ringing endorsement. It was like begrudgingly I sit through the banter as well. But we do have a topic for today.
we do have a topic today. We are talking. I don't think we actually did. We say I'm PS_Garrick and you're Decaf Jedi on Twitch.
We didn't. You bungled the intro so badly, we lost track completely. I don't
Well,
even know if you ever introduced yourself.
I'm Ben.
Hey, I'm Jess.
All right, and I've got a couple emails.
No, 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 we've already done that.
Okay, great. What are
Yeah, we
what are we
can't take it
talking
from the
about
top.
today?
Today, we are talking about streaming adventure games. Both of us, of course, as all of our listeners know, are Twitch streamers who most of our live streams consist of adventure games, not exclusively for either one of us, but certainly that's our bread and butter. And I just want to talk a little bit about this sort of unique way of experiencing adventure games, whether it's games that we played in the past and now are streaming with a wider audience, or even games that we are playing for the first time in front of our viewers. And I guess maybe where I would start out, this is something I'm not sure if I know the answer to this. Uh, how did you get started streaming adventure games? Are adventure games where you began,
No.
or is that something you came around to?
Well, so I think it's worth thinking like my streaming history, and maybe this is true of other people too, but like my streaming history was part of me. I thought streaming was stupid until I didn't, you know?
Yeah,
Like I definitely had, and maybe this is like streaming was one of those things where I was just like, why would anyone be interested in watching anyone else play a video game? That's the stupidest shit I've ever heard my whole life. I don't believe it. That sounds so boring. Like, why would you do that? Um, did you feel the same way
I'm
or
co-signing every word of
yeah
that. Like literally, when I streamed a video game for the first time, I don't think I had ever watched someone stream a video game. Because a
yeah
lot of the same thing. I was just like, I don't get it. Like, it was bizarre to me that like I had a kid who watched like Minecraft let's plays and things like that. I was like,
yeah
what in the world is the appeal of watching someone else play a game? Which raises the question of why did I decide to do it?
yeah
But I was absolutely came from the same place. I didn't understand
right
the appeal of streaming
yeah
and thought I'll do this for some weird reason.
I might have talked about this on an earlier uh podcast. Um I was occasionally on a stream which was so like a Chicago like pal of mine He's on Twitch, and he doesn't really. He's mostly retired from streaming. He'll pop up every now and again from time to time. This guy, Jack Danger on
Hmm.
Twitch. Did I talk about him on here before? Do you
I
recall?
don't think so.
But he and I've told him this story. I'm pretty sure. Uh, he was a pinball streamer. And when he pops up, like that's what he's doing again. And I remember like so he like set up and he came out of like some amount of like video production and stuff like that. Because it's like he's like, I'm gonna do pinball streaming. And that was like double insane to me because it's like, well, at least a video game, you could hook that up to like your streaming computer.
Yeah.
Now it's like you're streaming like a pinball machine. Like, can you even do that? Like, will a computer be able to stream a pinball machine?
How are you gonna
And
fit inside the
yeah,
computer?
like where does the pinball go? I can't open up a pinball. Like I can't open up a computer. And and so like he set up like this streaming rig and like it was this like I think it was like three cameras. There was one camera on the table, one camera on like the score screen, and then one camera on like the
Hmm.
player. Um and he started Twitch streaming and like he would invite some of us over to his studio from time to time and be like, "Hey, come over. I'm recording. If you want to play some pinball on the stream." And I just remember thinking, like, this is like, dude, you put so much fucking work into this, and like, like
Yeah, just hearing this, I'm exhausted. Like
a
3
half
cameras. Oh
and
my
a
god.
half dozen of people are watching this right now. You're full of shit, man. Like, what the fuck? Like, you're crazy. And then
I'm
like
sorry.
obviously the reason that I'm using like this guy's name and telling this tale is because you could figure out the ending of this, which
You
was of
were right
course,
all along.
yeah. Yeah. Fuck
You are
you,
rubbing
Jack.
in.
But it was, that it turned out to be wildly successful, and he ended up getting like hundreds and hundreds and like on occasion thousands of viewers and stuff like that. And like loyal viewers to the point where now he works at the pinball factory and has designed two pinball machines, and I'm sure he's working on a third right now. So
He
it
works
all
at the
worked out.
pinball factory. Sounds like a make believe job.
No, he literally
He works at
does.
the pinball factory.
He designed a Foo Fighters pinball machine and a X-Men pinball machine. They're both pretty fun. Good job,
I've
Jack.
seen this X-Men
Yeah.
pinball machine, and it's quite
Um
impressive.
and so like this long anecdote is essentially to say like before like so I had been on Twitch streams, but even when I was on them, I was just like, it's more than I'm just getting to play at this like at my friend's cool studio. Like I was just like, this is who the fuck is into this? And then like, like he saw it. Like this is just one of those things where like I'll just eat all the crow. Like I absolutely did not understand. I did not understand the appeal of it. I didn't understand the appeal of YouTube video essays. There's all sorts of shit where like that are wildly popular online where I took a look at it and was just like, there's nothing here.
You never made the pivot to video.
I mean, now I did. Like,
Yeah, that's right.
several years after, like, everybody else pivoted, I was like,
No,
I'll
I was in the
deign
same
to
boat.
pivot.
Yeah, like the idea, even for me, I remember at one point someone asked me to subscribe to their YouTube channel, and I was like, why would I subscribe to a YouTube channel? I just like look up a video I want to see when I'm on YouTube. The idea that you would have like regular viewing of someone's content was even a little foreign to me, circa like 2019 or so. So yeah, I think I was in kind of the same boat. So what moved you on from
Yeah.
there then to say like I want to do this?
So yeah, two things. It was another thing was it was my first couple streams were just a little bit of like it was honestly just a sense of it's like, yeah, why not? Like just give it a shot. Like I'm curious. Because this is towards the end of 2019. What happened was, for me, Twitch released, and this no longer exists. I'm pretty sure. Like, I mean, I'm sure the program's out there, but it's not supported.
Hmm.
Um, Twitch Studio, which was
Yeah.
uh, that Twitch created like a client that was like, baby's first stream thing. Like it did all the work generally for you. That like an OBS or like a
Hmm.
Streamworks or whatever would do. And I was like, all right, well, this is nice, and it's like got big Fisher Price buttons. Like I don't have to really think about doing this, and like as evidenced by my UEVR story, like I'm just not someone that's very good at sweating the technical end of things. Like just at a certain
No,
point, I give up. Um,
same. No, absolutely.
and so that like that this came out. It was also it's like I didn't have a particularly good internet. Like I didn't have a bad one, but I didn't have one that I would consider great for streaming. And I honestly like my internet now is fine. Stream at like 720p as opposed to higher, but that's fine because I'm playing fucking Wayne's World. So you don't need that in
And you could
4K.
be
It's fine.
Ben, you could be playing Tales from the Borderlands right now, and you're not. You chose Wayne's World,
Yeah, I did.
and you have to live with your decision.
But anyway, so the first game I streamed was Microprose's Master of Magic
Oh,
because I was just kind of like, why not? It was that and this was a recurring stream for me in my very very early days. Was Might Magic 6,
okay.
which I love. That's a game I have a ton of fun with. And actually, Might Magic 6, like I had like this little group of people that were like Might and Magic 6 fans and would like just hop on and chat with me about the game. And Grayson did it with me too. And that was fun. But I mean, it was the release of Twitch Studio, which now I just straight use OBS. But and then and I have a feeling this is going to be the same for you. Like it was sporadic and it was just kind of a like, oh, I wonder what this is kind of thing. And then it was the pandemic and all of a sudden I had a ton of free time and also like a ton of um like creative energy and like I need to be seen by a crowd energy,
Yes.
as a performer.
Yeah.
And so I it was like it became like it's like, oh, this is kind of an outlet for that energy that I have.
Yeah, that
Because
was very much my story. You
yeah,
know, it was very much driven by the beginning of the pandemic, and some of the same things. Like I had a lot of free time. I was stuck at home, and I think that weirdly, coming as someone who is a professor, I kind of miss that audience too. Like I'm so used to, getting up several times a week and speaking to a
yeah,
small crowd of people
right,
that I wasn't quite sure this is sad. I wasn't quite sure who I was without an audience to speak to. I just
sure,
didn't quite feel like myself.
yeah,
I just felt disconnected from kind of what I did and by extension, a part of who I was. And another thing that was part of it for me, a lot of listeners will know that I, for a few years, ran a website called the Video Game Soda Machine Project, where I collected screenshots of soda machines from video games. I put together a collection of a few thousand of those, and part of what like got me to stream for the first time, I saw from some screenshots or gameplay footage or something that there was a soda machine in Doom Eternal.
mm,
And I thought it'd be a funny little supplement to the screenshots I put on my website. I was like, what if I just record gameplay of myself getting a screenshot of this soda machine? I'll play the first hour or so of the game until I get to the place where the soda machine is. I'll take that and then I'll post the video on my website. So I'd be like, here's a behind the scenes of how I grab screenshots of sewing machines. Obviously, essential work. This was stuff that people needed to see.
You were an essential worker at the time.
I
I
was an
remember.
essential
Yeah.
worker at the time. Yeah, so I fired up Doom Eternal. I played it on Twitch and kind of found that it scratched an itch for me. I was like, okay, this is kind of fun. I'm bad at it. I have no idea how to get better at it, but I kind
Now,
of
now, when you
dig this
say that
process.
you're bad at it, were you referring to Doom Eternal or streaming?
Worse at streaming than I was at Doom Eternal, and I
Okay.
wasn't great at
So I heard
Doom
Doom
Eternal.
Eternal was kind of like, a very kind of a tricky game. I played it.
But no, it was. I had no idea. Again, I hadn't watched streamers. I didn't know what was entertaining. Like I didn't know what people wanted to hear. If they wanted personality, if they wanted trivia about a game, if they wanted gameplay. And the answer is yes to all of those, or one of those, or whatever. People watch streamers for very idiosyncratic reasons. And I, didn't want to keep playing Doom Eternal, that sort of game. I enjoy that sort of thing, but I've been an adventure game fan all my life, and eventually moved around over to those where I felt a little bit more at home.
Mm.
And yeah, definitely the pandemic was such a big part of just needing that connection with the outside world, and streaming felt like a way to do that
Yeah.
with, my
Like,
$5 Amazon Basics microphone.
right. Yeah. Yeah. Like, I mean, yeah, I started and I was just using like a gamer headset for my mic. And like the onboard laptop camera, so which was like looking up my face.
There you go. That's the angle you want. I don't think I added a face cam for like 8 or 9 months. I didn't do the big face reveal until down the road, mostly because I just literally didn't have a camera.
um but let's talk about adventure games in the specific, because we're talking about like streaming. What is it? So, because you and I, we have kind of different streams, how we do it.
Yeah.
Like
I'm curious to
the
see how you characterize that. Tell me more.
yeah, like I mean, I would say like with Adventure Tuesday, um like it's the three of us, and like the adventure game is maybe, I would say, about 40% or less, excuse me, of the stream. Like it's mostly like, so my stream is myself and my friends Grayson and Sarah, and like we're doing bits, we're making each other laugh, we're giving each other we're busting each other's balls
Yeah.
for 2 hours.
It's meant to
And
be like a fun hang.
yeah, and so like the adventure game like comes up, and like sometimes we get really captured by it and get really into it, and then sometimes it is just kind of a like an action on the screen, in the same way that sometimes there's TikTok videos that have like three different screens
Just like
going on.
chopping carrots at the bottom of like footage from Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Right.
Just
Yeah. And so like ours is kind of like a, yeah, I it's a hangout, it's a like, and I think the hangout is kind of more important in it, and like the adventure game is kind of second.
Yeah, and I mean, I
And
can speak to that as a viewer.
yeah.
Before we started collaborating on anything, or certainly long before we made a podcast together, I was a fan of Adventure Tuesday, and the appeal for me there was it's just kind of fun to watch three friends being friends.
Right.
That there's something charming about that. It helps that you're three funny and interesting friends. But yeah, I mean, that's definitely the vibe there. Yeah, I think Adventure Tuesday, yeah, that fun hang with the game being maybe less the focus.
Yeah, and again, like sometimes we'll get really captured in a game, or like we'll
Jumanji style.
yeah. Like, or it's like, especially if it's something like more recent or something like that, like where it's like people might not have as much familiarity. Like, so it's like, when we were playing the Crimson Diamond, for example. Um, we were giving that more attention because it was like that's a more recent thing. It's also made by like like a person in a small team.
Yeah.
So like I don't want to like whereas like I don't have any particular you know if it's like King's Quest like
Mhm.
everybody, nobody
I see.
watching is seeing King's Quest for the first time. Nobody
No.
watching, like, also it's like if you're buying King's Quest now, it's like that money goes to what? Microsoft? Like who gives a shit? Like it's like
Yeah.
I'm not worried about like I don't want to negatively hurt like, somebody like, Julia or like Grundislav or like, the like Dave Gilbert or any like anyone, indie game
Mhm. But
people.
you're
Like I'll
fine hurting Roberta Williams's feelings.
she lives on a fucking yacht. She'll be okay.
But no, you're right. I mean, yeah, you don't have to be crazy dialed into King's Quest 4 because everyone there has played it and seen it a million times before. You can, yeah, or a game like Wayne's World, you have to preserve your sanity meter and can't, completely allow yourself to be immersed in that, or you may never get out.
Yeah, it's like Darkest Dungeon. Yeah, I mean, all right. Well, and then so for your stream, you're typically solo. Every now and again, I'll be there if you're playing a Star Trek, which I think it's
We need
time.
to do.
Yeah, we'll have to do. Originally, I was calling dibs on it for my stream, but you know what? You have it, and I'll join your stream sometime. Let's
Okay.
yeah, let's do that.
You heard it here first.
Yeah. Because I've taken too long to do it, so we got to do it now. But yours is more kind of like, and I say this as a viewer, and as we're recording this on a Wednesday, so you're going to be streaming a little later today. Like yours is a little more game forward. There is like kind of the hang. Like I mean, the enjoyment of a stream is building like that rapport with like the people watching, and that's the nice thing. Like you and I we're we're pretty small potatoes streamers.
Yes.
Like I usually have I don't know, like 15 to 20 usually have like what, like 20 to 40 around there.
Yeah, and 40 on a rare occasion. Yeah, I mean even by adventure gaming standards, we're not big time.
And to be
But
clear, I that's fine for
yeah,
me.
yeah,
Like I can't
yeah,
speak for Jess,
yeah.
but it's
And
like
yeah, my marketing director says that's fine and this is right where I need to be right now.
excellent. Who's your marketing director?
Grayson.
Oh, good. But it's like I know, like at this point, we know like most of the people watching. We have like there are people that have been like with us all 5 years, like since we became like adventure game streamers. That like like we'll make references to like something from 5 years ago, and they'll be like, ha 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 ha. I
Yeah.
understand. But yeah, yours is collaborative and it is also about the game until like you get like really burnt out and furious, like let's say it's the end of the Legend of Kyrandia. um
Oh man. Kyrandia. We'll have to talk about Kyrandia on an episode sometime. But no, I mean, I think that's a fair way to put it. And I think maybe a game like Kyrandia makes me think, I think Kyrandia is a good game to stream in some ways and maybe a tough game to stream in others. I'm curious, most people on Twitch aren't streaming retro adventure games. What makes retro adventure games a good fit for live stream? Like, in what ways do they work, and maybe in what ways are they a poor fit for this? Like, what works and what doesn't?
I think adventure games are good to stream because it kind of gives like a hook.
Okay.
To like because you have this narrative and like by design they're there for people like you can watch it as kind of like a story, so there's something that people can kind of hook
Mm-hmm.
into. um the thing also with, and I mean I'm sure this is true of all retro streaming, if like you're somebody streaming like old Mario games or whatever, like Final Fantasies, etc. um the the like the people watching, again, I already said this, but it's like the the people watching generally have seen this.
Mhm.
Like, not only have they played it, but they're like they'll probably also have seen people stream it. And it's also like, you know, like, I reference this on this podcast a lot, but in my previous podcast, the Last Best Babylon 5 podcast, like that was
Mhm.
the gimmick of it was there were three of us. There was me who had seen the show before and two people who hadn't. And there is like like a thrill. It's like, we all want to have that exciting feeling of playing, like, of this big twist or something, again, after we've played something that really touched us or really animated us in some sort of way. You're not going to get that back, generally. Um and so there's a lot of a thrill, and like that was for a lot of our listeners on that podcast. Like, a lot of people who are big fans of something love the idea of, like, because like you played King's Quest 6 and that was your first time playing King's Quest 6.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of people who are like, holy shit, this guy's gonna play King's Quest 6
Yeah.
for the first
I
time.
love this
I'm
game.
gonna
This
get
is
to.
the
And so,
yeah.
like, maybe I can draft a little bit on your reaction, your
Yeah, see it through a
surprise, and
fresh set of
your
eyes.
laughter. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, absolutely. I think that makes a lot of sense. I think the pacing of adventure games is also really nice for live streaming in the sense that, unlike, say, an action game like Doom Eternal, where the whole idea is that you're just like moving from one kill to the next in a first person shooter, you know, adventure games tend to be somewhat punctuated, which is useful if you're trying to also talk to an audience, if you're trying to do some sort of commentary. You can kind of pace an adventure game at your speed, whereas a lot of other genres, for me, like, I'm never going to be able to do super engaging commentary while also trying to say, like, play a Resident Evil game. That's
Mhm.
just not going to happen. I'm going to be too focused on making my guy move around in a 3D space and not getting eaten by a zombie to say anything too terribly clever. Adventure games give me that space as an old slow person to actually commentate as I play.
Yeah, like that's and that yeah, like adventure games, because you could just like pause and slow down and uh like um
Just
uh
stand on a screen without giving it any input, and generally an adventure game isn't going to punish you for that the way, say, a battle royale multiplayer game might.
yeah, like, yeah, it is like it's easy to kind of build a rapport, keep an eye on chat and talk and stuff when you're playing an adventure game. That's a lot easier. Um and like, we're talking retro adventures, but like I just, I brought up a bunch of like the new like indie adventure games. That's kind of a tricky thing, right? Because it's like, I try to, like, I've streamed some new stuff, as I'm aforementioned Crimson Diamond. I also
Hmm.
streamed shortly after it came out, the Expelled, the Inkle
Yeah.
game, for a little bit. Um and I try to be careful with that because um you know, adventure games by design, once you kind of seen it, you've kind of seen it. And
Yes.
uh and so there's a little bit of a drop off in the viewers, because there will be like a combination of people that just want to see like the games that they're like, they just kind of want to vibe on games they already know. But then also there's people that are like, well, I don't want to see something I haven't played because I might play that.
This
And
is a challenge of streaming adventure games. Yeah, I mean, it's not like your
yeah,
skill with them alone is going to be enough to bring people in. People don't want stories spoiled. It's not like you can be like, Ben's so good at adventure games. He's 360 no scoping puzzles left and right. I just want to see his mechanical abilities here. That yeah, I mean, it's different from other genres in that sense. As you said, there's not really room for the gameplay short of speedrunners. Now they're their own category where yeah, they're just the mechanical gameplay. It's like that seems virtually impossible. That's not us. We aren't speedrunners. I would love to imagine I could speedrun, but I think any amount of practice, I could never be good at speedrunning. That is
Watching
not.
have you watched the Quest for Glory speedrunners
Yes.
like Mr. PR Miller and so on and so forth? Those I've watched some of those. They're wild. They're
Yeah,
just
like my brain
crazy.
can't comprehend what I'm seeing. I certainly couldn't do what they're doing. Yeah, but so for most of us, at some level, it's going to be the commentary, and then it's going to be the story of the game itself. Yeah, as you said, with newer games, you ran into the challenge of yeah, people may not want to be spoiled, which is going to make them a challenge to stream at some level if you want to bring in that same kind of audience. I mean, what makes a good streaming adventure game though? Like, why we both have streamed enough at this point to know there are some that work and work really well and end up being the kind of streams that people are like, oh, that was great. I can't wait to see the next episode of you playing this game. And then there are others that I think both of us have felt like were just absolute slogs to get through. You can tell when the audience isn't engaged by it. Probably that's a little bit of a two-way street of the less engaged I am, the less engaged they are, which makes me less engaged. What makes a good or a bad streaming game? Why does some work and others don't?
Well, it's funny because I don't know actually the answer to this because it's like I think that there's so it's like as a streamer and like somebody that's like trying to entertain, like if I'm playing a game and it has like a really tedious sequence that I keep failing, that's very finicky. Like let's say like in Codename Iceman, any of it,
Mm-hmm.
um, or like like just all those, like now I'm in this big fucking maze in Wayne's World. The there's a certain amount of fun and joy to be had as a viewer in like that repeated failure. But as a streamer it does feel like it's like ugh, I'm boring everyone. Like it's like in the same way that like did you get that feeling again when you were just playing the first Kyrandia game and the like like you had to find that one gem and it required you to like just like go all the way back to the first forest and then wander all the way back and then
Yeah,
like
just like literally check every screen of the game, of
yeah,
which by that point there were like 40 or so.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, that's rough. I mean, the same way that like the Fireberry caverns in
ugh,
Kyrandia were rough. I mean, it's when I know that myself, it's like painful to try to navigate through this, even though I'm sitting there with a walkthrough, just sort of is like north, east, east, south, east, north, and just sort of walking through this horrible maze, reading from a walkthrough. I'm not really playing the game at that point. I'm just more like entering in a set directions that someone else has been kind enough to write down for me, and yeah, trying to like keep it going through that kind of tedium is always a challenge. Now, sometimes that can result in, I think there is a certain level of let's see, I'm going to say that's sadism, right? I can never get sadism and masochism straight,
mm.
but I'm pretty sure that yeah, for the viewers, it's sort of the fun sometimes of watching us suffer, right? I
Right,
think that
yeah,
there's
yeah,
an
I
appeal
think
to that.
like like so again I'm playing, as we record this I'm playing Wayne's World right now and we just started the miserable cave maze and it sucks and it's not fun. I'm also playing it up a little bit for the camera to
Wait, you would exaggerate your reaction to the game for your audience?
a little bit,
Ben, that's
a
dishonest.
little bit, a
I would
little bit.
never. I just want all of my viewers to know I have never been anything but myself
That's great.
and an honest version of myself on camera.
I'm a trained actor.
Well, that's true. You are from the theater
Yeah, I come from the theater. I've tread the boards
with an
and
RE.
yeah, that's how you know it's legitimate. Uh that's why we can't record on Sunday. It's because I have a theatrical engagement.
And I, of course, am in church all
There
day.
might be 6 people to see this improv show.
Some of them who may have paid.
Yeah. Yeah, some of them wouldn't be. It might not just be the stage manager. Um,
It's nice to hear you talk with your actual accent, though.
yeah, yeah, like yeah, that's what
No
it.
more of this Chicago Ben
Right.
stuff. We can finally hear the true transatlantic Ben.
Um, but yeah, you know, it it is it's such a. Here's a question for you, like on the what makes a game good to stream is that like so I think about games that have like that kind of lean more visual novel.
Uh
And this
huh.
is an honest question for you is that it's like I'm generally not a I'll try to avoid those because there's kind of like want to uh I don't want to like sit and read all that text because that's too much. But it's
Oof.
also it's like how long but you just streamed Norco and I think you
I was
had
going to
like
say,
a pretty positive experience. I think you had a good time doing that. So
yeah.
how do you do that? How do you square that circle? Like you didn't read every single line of text in that, right?
I read almost every single line of text in
You
that, Ben. I
did.
think I did. And that may have been a little bit of a mistake. I was thinking about that one too, because that was a challenge. And while I was doing it, I was very self conscious about the fact that, sometimes I'm just like reading text that's on screen for like 2 and 3 minutes straight in some of those longer segments of dialogue in that game. It's not voiced. So either I could just let the viewer read on screen themselves and kind of push forward, but that game it lives in the text
Right.
in a way that I feel like, again, very visual novel esque. I feel like if I didn't voice this stuff, people are going to get lost and people are half paying attention, aren't going to be, if they're like me, there's a good chance they have another tab open while they're watching my stream.
Right.
They're jumping around, things like that.
I typically have my Steam Deck out and I'm playing a game.
That's right. Yeah, I mean that's me. And sadly, that's me with kind of any form of entertainment. I'm seldom focused on completely on the thing I'm supposed to be paying attention to. The Paul Rubens documentary was good enough that I actually put my phone down out of reach to make sure I wasn't tempted to pick it up and check it.
This is why I mean, among other reasons, this is one of the main reasons I like now. Like, this is a good reason why I like to go to movie theaters is because it's like it forces me. Like,
Yes,
everything is turned off when
yeah. I
I
will
go there.
not do that. I will not be the monster who pulls out his
Yeah,
phone
I'm
in the midst of. Yeah,
yeah
it's the only way I can be guaranteed to only be watching one screen at a time.
yeah
I spent my entire childhood suffering with just one screen. I don't want to have to go back there. At a
no.
time when I can have 4 or 5 screens open at a time, why would I just look at one? But yeah, I mean that's hard. I mean, and I mean on the one hand, it's just like God. I start getting way in my head about God. Why does my voice sound like this? Why do I
Oh
say
yeah.
things the way I'm saying them right
Oh
now?
right.
Like
Yeah.
what's the like? Ugh. I can't stand to hear myself say another sentence. And yeah, that's tough. I think that I know this is somewhere where our streams sometimes diverge a bit. I am so grateful when a game is voiced so that I don't have to read a bunch of stuff constantly on screen, and B, maybe the voice acting sometimes is a source of maybe a
Have a
laugh or
little
two
fun.
itself. Yeah,
Yeah.
either it's so good, I love it, and it's like, this is wonderful, or it's so bad you can poke a little fun at how poor the performance
Yeah.
is or whatever. I know a lot of times you guys leave voices off so you can
We'll
kind of
do that sometimes. We do have a lot of fun, like in the same way, where like we play the game of like, are they hitting the all caps? Like
yes,
in adventure game dialogue. If you don't watch either of our streams, like we, in adventure game dialogue, there are a lot of in almost all adventure games, like, and this is like up to today and all the way back
hmm
to like early '90s, probably late '80s too. They'll have dialogue, which like to emphasize, will have something all caps
yeah,
and
probably in a world where bold and italics weren't always available,
right,
all
right,
caps gets the job done.
and so in games where there's voice acting, a little game that I play on my stream, and then I'll call it out. When I'm a viewer in your stream, Jess, is that if the voice actor hits the all caps word. Um, and I think that's always sometimes they do and sometimes they don't. Um,
And
but
that's why we're compiling a list for, it's going to be a curated Steam list for people who don't want to play games where voice actors couldn't be bothered to not hit all the all caps dialogue. So you'll know whether a game is safe for your consumption if you care about all caps.
yeah. But to rewind a little bit, it's just I don't know what to do with visual novels because I don't know if I should be reading everything or not. Like it's like so we played years ago. We played two, maybe three cases in the
Mm-hmm.
first Phoenix Wright game. And like the amount of dialogue and description and all of that in that game because they're visual novels like was just so much that it's like we just there was just too much like and so I ended up like because it's kind of case to case to case like there was a nice little like okay we can call it here we can stop here because I was just like this is just these streams are too long and we're not having a lot of our like kind of downtime where we can fuck around because we're just doing too much reading dialogue and like I'll talk to Grayson and Sarah before we start streaming sometimes and be like, let's just read some of the dialogue or like just pick a sentence or two because it's like
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it's there's just too much.
Yeah, absolutely. No, and that's a challenge. Again, yeah, you don't. That was my concern as I was playing through Norco. It's like, am I just reading? And because I'm reading so much, I'm not bothering to do any like commentary or add anything to this. Which I don't know. For me, I would think if I were watching it, I would want more of that streamer to come through. But if I'm reading a short novel over the course of a stream, it's a little more challenging. Yeah, I was thinking about this too. Part of me's tempted, and I hate these phrases, but part of me always feels like when my streams are really like working well, when I'm having a good time and I think my audience is having a good time, it might be in cases where the game is so bad it's good, or maybe just so good
I
it's
mean,
good.
some of your yeah, like your Wayne's World and your Beverly Hillbillies
I
ones.
mean,
And those were
Ace
years ago.
Ventura, the CD-ROM
Yeah.
game, is like maybe one that springs to mind for me.
The what?
Where
The CD-ROM game? The Rocky Horror?
No, Ace Ventura,
Oh
the
God.
the CD-ROM game. I mean, which is a weirdly like competently made game in some ways, and just like bizarre and infuriating in others. Which was a good combo. It meant
That
it was
was
kind of a
yeah.
constant roller coaster ride of me. It's one of the few games I ever quit without finishing. I got so frustrated, like
Well,
literally
it
the
had
last
that
puzzle.
insane puzzle at the end. It
Yeah, I just walked
also,
away from it.
um, like, it was also, yeah, to your point, it was a really handsome looking game. It had great
Yeah,
animation. Like, it had
good
the
voice
voice
acting.
cast of the cartoon and all of this. But like, I'd never heard of it. I don't think anyone really like, I'm sure your more kind of hardcore people might have been like familiar with it, may have heard
Hmm.
of it, but it's not really a game that gets a lot of press. And I mean, now we know why. It's bad, and it has a
Yeah.
puzzle in it. Like the final puzzle of it is impossible, and it's a game made for
Mhm.
children. Um, yeah, I mean that's kind of there's a certain joy to that too, especially yeah, watching you play that, then like make your way to that final puzzle and try it. I think you spent like 45 minutes on it. Like you gave a pretty good
I did,
try
and
before just going
I
like,
barely
okay, fuck
remember it.
this.
It was like some sort of like rewiring a security system
It was a
kind of
very
thing.
puzzly puzzle that required yeah, it was very like click
Yeah,
here to click here.
connecting wires, and I don't know, but it was terrible. I think about the game probably that I streamed that I had the most fun with. Maybe splits the difference too, in the sense that like Gabriel Knight 2, I think is still maybe the game that
Well,
I've
that has a
enjoyed
bit of
streaming.
everything.
I mean, it's a good game that is also deeply silly and ridiculous in a lot of ways, and occasionally a little frustrating. And it kind of hits that sweet spot of, oh my God, we're all enjoying a great game together.
Yeah.
And oh my God, did you just see that ridiculous scene where Grace freaked out at Gerda over, who gets to be Gabriel's new assistant? And did you just see this part of the game where I had to go around museums for 2 hours straight, clicking on everything so I can get move forward in the story, the more that's tedious and frustrating. It kind of has it all in a way that just made it the perfect game for streaming.
FMV is
Yes.
actually really good for streaming because it adds like because most of those FMV games, even like the very good ones like Gabriel Knight 2, are still, like they're generally not getting the best actors. I mean, the Goosebumps the game
Hmm.
for some reason had Isabella Rossellini in it briefly,
Yeah.
which is baffling,
Yeah.
alongside a couple other pretty
Mhm.
interesting cameos.
And even if you are
But
getting the best actors, you're probably not getting the best performances
no,
out of the. Yeah.
but
No one
like
would say Tim Curry's best performance is in Muppet Treasure Island, the game.
no, I had that game as a child. He's
Okay.
pretty locked in as like he's just doing his same performance
Yeah, I
in
mean
it.
Tim Curry's pretty locked
Yeah,
in,
yeah. He's just,
just in general.
he's just showing in. But yeah, like that adds like a little bit of an extra like MST3K, quality to it
Yeah.
because you're getting these like often like kind of B movie or kind of like working actors, not as well known actors that are being directed by video game people and not acting
Mhm.
directors, and acting against a green screen, in the mid '90s. So that's not as like commonplace as it would end up being. So the
Mhm.
performances are all over the place. That adds a lot of
Grist for the mill.
fun. Yeah. Like yeah, I think a good game to stream is something that kind of gives you something to kind of get your hooks in on, and it might be like a weird or funny performance, or it might be that you're captured by the mystery or the story, or it might be, it could be a variety of things, but it's just like sometimes it's just as much of that you, or if in my case the three of us like have something that we kind of like get our like become fascinated by.
Yes. Yeah, like I'm thinking like Police Quest 1 VGA, which is a very meh game all around. It's probably more meh in some ways than the original Police Quest 1. But stumbling on a weird thing like, oh, it has all this odd like masculinity stuff, like toxic masculinity stuff that gets written into the VGA remake that wasn't in the EGA original. And suddenly it becomes like a little Easter egg hunt to find these bits of dialogue that, for whatever reason, were added to this game. And like, why are those there? And it can take even a pretty bleh game like that and give it something, yeah, like you say, to sink your teeth into, to really to deal with. Now, you and I both, I think, when we're streaming, we're walkthrough boys. Now, we've talked about this going all the way back to the very first episode
Yeah.
of Quest. We're walkthrough boys in life, and we're walkthrough boys, or actually, I think probably we've matured to walkthrough men in our streaming careers as well. I don't mind you. I try not to look at a walkthrough usually for a game I'm playing for the first time, unless I know it's a game that is notable for its bullshit. Like I'd never played most of Legend of Kyrandia. When I dove into that, I knew there were going to be dumb mazes and way too many gemstones. And I tried to look at the walkthrough sparingly, but once it became frustrating, it's like I'm digging out that walkthrough. It's not gonna be fun to watch me sort
Yeah.
gemstones.
I like for newer, like, so generally my policy is for newer stuff I'll give it an honest try and have like a walkthrough like kind of on retainer. Like generally we're just straight walkthrough because and actually I think that people really enjoy the process of someone trying to figure out a puzzle. But I don't like that friction as part of like what we're doing. I like constant motion
Yeah.
in my stream. I don't like kind of like, oh, does this work? Does this work?
Mhm.
Um but I know that some viewers love that. Uh with newer stuff, I tend to prefer like going in blind. It's kind of similar to yours. Like when we do play like a newer game, I'll try to solve the puzzles first, especially because like a game that came out recently. Just they're designed by players that are like I don't want to make. Like I'm, like a Rosewater or like like most the newer kind of generation of AGS games are made not to like stump you for days. They're made for you
Right.
to beat them. Um
Yeah.
and and so generally you could do that. Like when we were playing the Sam and Max games, I tried to solve those
Yeah.
without a
And
knife.
they're very solvable. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, yeah, those are, seldom did I run into in the Telltale Sam and Max a puzzle that just completely stumped me. And we're lucky in the sense, too, that we have viewers who, in many cases, are familiar with these games as well and can offer some hints of varying degrees of directness. Like I have like my own Sierra reveal a clue hint book sitting in chat at any given time where it's like, can someone nudge me in the right direction or can someone literally just spell out the solution of this puzzle like I'm an idiot for me? And oftentimes there's someone in chat who can offer something along that continuum.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, so is there anything else that you wanted to cover?
I mean, I think that covers
Yeah.
a lot of it. I mean, I guess you know, for me, streaming adventure games has been, just a really fun experience. We've talked about this before. Something for me that with adventure games was an important part of playing them growing up was playing them with other people,
Right.
playing them with friends. Like my buddy Andy, who wrote the letter
Yeah, yeah,
earlier,
yeah.
calling into question my memory of our childhood. Having friends like that to play adventure games with is such a part of how I enjoy these games. Streaming gives me a little bit of that back, and I think that's really rewarding. And
Right.
then, also I think it's been fun just sort of on a personal level, trying to get better at it, trying
Right.
to figure out what works in this medium and how to be entertaining. I mean, in a perfect world, I'd like to think that, I'm putting on a little bit of a show. And I don't know if it's a show. Apparently, it's a show about 24 people want to tune into, which may not get me on a network anytime soon.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean that part. I like the challenge of it. I like the challenge of figuring out how to, to pull this off in a way that anyone would want to see.
Yeah.
And we wouldn't have Quest presumably
No.
if these streams didn't exist first, and that would be a sad world to imagine.
Yeah. I,
Can you
I
imagine, Ben? How awkward these conversations would be if we weren't recording a podcast during them.
well, yeah, they'd be terrible. They'd be horrible conversations because they wouldn't have the frisson of being knowledgeable streamers.
That's right. That's right. Exactly. I mean, we bring a level of expertise to this topic that is virtually unrivaled among anyone I know personally.
All right. Well, folks, thank you so much for listening to Quest, the adventure game podcast. Please rate and review us. Helps people find the show. You can watch us on Twitch and YouTube, PS_Garrick and Decaf Jedi. You can send us an email at questquestpodcast at gmail.com.
And if you ask a really good question, it could become a future episode.
Mhm.
We just plucked out a future episode from this week's mailbag. That could be you.
That could be you.
That could be you.
That could be you.
You.
That it's you.
It was you all along.
But join us next week when we begin our 10-part series about all of the various little vignettes in the that little town in Serenia in King's Quest V, investigating the shoemaker's life, that guy that's fitting people in the clothing store, just checking out
The
everybody,
fish in the barrel.
the fish in the barrel, that little boy that puts his hand in the pie. What's his
Mm.
story? We're going to do it all in a 10-part series starting next week. We'll see you then.